Hello, here is Tiago Hacke. I'm an artist and here's my painting process. So on this time lapse I'm painting some backgrounds for some fishes, and as you can see I made some like starry night kind of effects before I actually started dabbing all those colors in. After the starry effects with blue stains, purple stains and oranges, I as you just have seen, I added some layers of the top of the water with some light blue. I cut it with dark blue. That's what I'm doing just now. I'm gonna do the same here. So I have the background. I make some lines where the light is coming through. With the yellow and white, I mix on the top with blue as well, make sort of a light green. Then I make some dabs that's like from where the light is coming from. Then I get a darker blue, I cut the shapes better. Then I make a lighter color, adding more white to the green, and I cut it again. And then I add a darker color with a thinner brush, and I make the same work of cutting those lines before. Then I squeeze them. I make some cuts of how to say. I make some smaller lines, cutting them, and note also in this part I use darker colors of blue for the under part and lighter colors and also the same color of blue for the top, because the top is reflecting what's coming under. With the light I make some lines that is like as if the light was cutting through those shapes that I'm drawing on the top, just like I am doing now. And I did these backgrounds on 4 different paintings, and in a couple of seconds I'm going to show you how I paint my final composition on one of those. This time lapse I was painting all the backgrounds at the same like one after the other. That's what I do. It's painted with acrylics, and as one is drying I jump immediately to the other one. On these blue paintings, ocean underwater paintings, I try to keep some levels of transparency. That's why the drying in between is crucial. Here you can see I'm throwing some water and some dabs of paint here and there to make irregularities on the surface, because I don't want it to be too even. So now I start the fish. The fish I put the darkest color first to start making the drawing. It's kind of an outline, you know. Note my little finger that is like supporting my hand, so I don't touch actually the canvas. That canvas, no, it's a watercolor paper. That watercolor paper had time to dry, so I can paint freely on it without having much risk. It's just I try to also keep a distance of my hands, so I have better drawing. My hand is actually in a bad position, or this camera is in a bad position because it's covering what I'm drawing. But basically now I diluted a bit the darkest blue, and I made like sort of the mid-tones of dark colors on the fish. I'm gonna grab some mid-tone of bright colors. It's not the total white, it's a white that is dirty with the color that I used to make the light coming through, so it's a very light green that I used mixed blue and yellow. And the same I used for the top part. And yeah, I make the flippers, I make the belly of the fish, the scales, and I use the brush strokes directionally, so it simulates the texture of the fish already. So now I grab a almost pure white, and I make the parts of shine where the reflection is on the fish, you know. And you can tell that as soon as I use a bit of the white, it touches the paint under and it starts getting a bit dirtier. So that's why I dab again in the white to make it lighter. But I use also when the brush is a bit dirty with the mid-tone of the bright colors to make some texture, so it has more color variances. So I'm not actually cleaning the brush, I'm just using it when it's dirty. I use it for other parts. And now I'm probably having a coffee break. I went to grab this stick, so I make like carefully drawing. I also grabbed a thinner brush to make some more details, and I'm putting some black. You'll see when my hand removes on the dark parts. So before I had a dark blue that was actually a greenish blue mixed with the black, and now I'm just putting a pure black. No, it's actually not pure black. It's that color, but even more pure with no water mixing, and some parts of it has more black mixed on it. So it's a blacker green blue. And I make all the details. I'm making the lines on the flippers and a darker part on the fish body. Um, you can see, yeah, you can notice that I left a little reflection on the white part when I did the whites before, on the top of the head of the fish, right where the light is hitting, coming from the sky, uh, from the water top. Okay, so now I'm just working some details and some lines that probably were too thick because I'm quite clumsy on the way I paint. Although it looks very careful, I'm very strong on it sometimes, and and yeah, and then I put some black on the fish scales, trying to make some more contrast and some shadows to separate them, give them more volume, and you can see those black dots on the fish body. On this part, the main thing is done, and I'm just like correcting bits and pieces. Um, for now, I think I'm researching imagery so I can continue painting more, adding more to the composition, because it's a flying fish and the light coming from the sky looks quite angelic. I decided to paint an airplane, but you can see because of my hand, so it will look like underwater, but at the same time at the sky, you know, playing with the idea of the flying fish, but in this like surrealist manner. I like to do that to decontextualize the ideas. And as the fish is flying, I could make a really small airplane, so the fish will look totally out of proportion, out of scale, and will confuse even more the viewer. But then I didn't like it because it was too stiff, so I made it in clouds. I thought, yeah, let's keep it this angelic and smooth. The airplane is high tech, and it doesn't go with the rest of the painting. And I authorize myself to change as long as I want. Now I'm making some shadows on the clouds to make the bottom part of it. You know, the clouds are not totally white ever, and and that's what I'm doing. Now I grabbed white and I'm doing the top of the clouds again. And you know, this is always back and forth, lights and darks, same type of work I did in the fish, but just with the light blue and the whites on the clouds. I defined all the cloud areas, and I'm thinking, okay, how can I make this even more angelic and more flying and more things? So I'm gonna add some more elements. But for now, I'm just painting the white on the clouds even stronger with pure white. I left a bit of time to dry, and note that I'm enhancing all the really bright parts with pure white on the other parts of the painting and the fish and the top that are already dried. So for now I'm just like making contrast stronger but with pure white. I'm liking this painting for now. This is like I'm narrating the process that was going on whilst I was making this painting, because I didn't know what was happening, how I was going to do it. So I decided to make a flock of birds flying, and I made it this almost cliche V-shape birds flying to confuse even more the viewer. So we don't know if it's fish, if it's birds. It's actually birds, and you can tell now I'm darkening the bottom to make a sense of depth, or in this case of height, stronger, because I thought it was too bright and too yellow, and I want the contrast and the brightest parts to be on the fish, and so it has more focus. The parts that have more contrast, so more difference in between black and white, are the ones that will have more focus, and I would definitely want that focus to be on the flying fish. Now I'm covering with really watered down blue paint some more details of parts that were too bright, and I'm signing it already. I grab the stick so I don't dab my hand on painting, and I'm tagging my name, Hacke, my signature of 2020. And I noticed that I wanted some more details there, probably on the fish head, the eyes. Sometimes I leave the eye for the end because it's also it's a focal point, and the more contrast it gets, the more it's strong, and yeah, that's it. So it's a finished painting, acrylic on watercolor paper. It's for sale at my Etsy page. And otherwise you can DM me as well, and text me a message if you want to buy it. And thanks for watching.